Hey guys, so I was thinking about how my job ended and how unnecessary it was. So today I learned that I had a teacher called Mr. Clarence. How about Mr. Clarence? And I was like, I'm going to Mr. Clarence's class. This is so cool. He's a man and he's also a second grade teacher, third grade teacher. I didn't know what grade he taught. But I was excited to meet him because I remember seeing him on the first day of school. And then I saw him on the second day of school. And then I stopped seeing him, but I assumed he was still in his class. He was not. There was an Indian woman who was a substitute teacher, and she had a horrible attitude with the students, and she did not know what she was doing. However, I was like, whatever. Why is he not here? Why is every teacher here in their class and he's not? And I was like, when is he coming back so that I can meet him? And he was never coming back. I asked another teacher, Miss Cruella. Let's call her Cruella. And she said, he is never coming back. And all she said is, I don't think he's ever coming back. And I'm like, what? And then I asked a student about it. And the student says, I saw him. I saw him on Thursday. She saw him on Friday. And then I saw him on Monday. But after that, I never saw him again. And I saw the guy. And when I saw him, he just was like, wow, there's no snacks in the break room. And I'm like, yeah, I thought there were snacks in the break room too. But it's just a drink soda machine. And then he walked away. And then next thing you know, he also walked out of class forever. So yeah, that had to be like a Friday. And then Monday came around, he was still at school, and now he's gone. And then who replaced him was Mrs. Light. She replaced him. And so Miss Light is just, she's a substitute teacher, I think. She's not a permanent teacher. And I'm just like, you guys at the school know I could be a permanent teacher. Like, I am qualified to teach. And they're just looking for a teacher. And I'm just like, if Miss Light doesn't want to do the job, I can step up. Like, I have a degree too. I can teach for a year. Like, all y'all gotta do is go up to me and be like, hey, Miss Doop Doop, do you want a job as a third grade teacher? And I could do it. And I'm just like, you guys, I'm a teacher right here who's qualified, and you're just having me as an assistant, assisting teachers who don't need me as an assistant. I'm sorry. So that's why I didn't like my day, because a lot of it was just listening to how the teacher is saying her lessons, and I don't like it because it's not engaging enough for me. And it's just like, kids don't need to be talked at. They need their minds to also be engaged in the lesson. They need to make, sometimes it's good to like jump around, to stand up, repeat after me, ask questions, let them talk about their own experiences first, and then you can get into the lesson so that the kid has that emotional connection and they can really remember the lesson. And teachers hate that. They're like, no, I have to get through this in like 5 minutes, and you're not going to interrupt me. You're not going to go to the bathroom, because I need someone to know that I am trying to teach you. And teaching is not just talking at someone. And I see this a lot. And that's why also I was just thinking with students, these students are either going to learn if they want to, or they're not going to learn if they don't want to. And that's the honest to God truth. And I do believe that there are bad teachers, but I do see there are students who just, they do not want to be in school. And the reason that teachers have to teach your mind to think in a certain way is because it's like we're testing your brain's skills. For example, I was in a Miss Kanununu class, and she was doing math with like hundreds squares, and then there was little cubes, and then there was 10 line squares. And the point was, can you break apart this math problem and then add it? So it didn't matter what the answer was, it was just, can you show your work and break it apart? And the students were struggling to do that. And I struggled to do it because I'm like, I don't understand why we're doing such a hard puzzle. Just get to the answer. And I was seeing like this boy was working on iReady, which is like a computer game program. And they were asking him to count like at 170 and 200 and let's say 80. And I was like, okay, let's just add it. And they're like, no, you have to add 200 and then 100, and then you're going to add 80 and then 70, and then we're going to skip to this number. And I was like, why are we breaking things apart? Why can't we just get to the answer? And that's because, again, the way that it's working is it's trying to like strengthen your brain, I assume, to like group things up in a certain way. And it's the same with writing letters, because again, kids need motor skills for their hands, and when you know how to hold your pencil and write in a certain way, it's like also working, I guess, your ability with your hands to like pick up things and place them places. Either way, it's just like there's a lot of learning outcomes in a single math problem or writing problem, and there's like different parts of your brain that is trying to strengthen and work when it's telling you to solve a problem in a certain way that your teacher is saying that you need to. And honestly, the lessons aren't that bad and they're not that hard. And it's funny because when I was in school, I was horrible at it. But now that I'm older, I'm like, actually, I see what this is trying to do, and it's not that bad. It's not that painful. And it's like, I remember I was in college and a guy was like, yeah, a lot of questions, you can easily find out the answer because it has a certain formula. And I understand what he was saying, but I still can't just like look at a test and magically know answers. But I do know that like the way that lessons are, I read a lot and I'm starting to notice a pattern and find like answers to questions easier than I did when I was like in school and I didn't know anything and I didn't understand what I was trying to do or what the teacher was trying to do. Because the teachers, they had a lot of information from students. Like one boy in Miss, let's call her Bolvik, in Miss Bolvik's class asks, what time is it? And the teacher is like, I'm not answering that question. And it's little things like that that I do think is stupid, because kids should know that class ends. You know, like you learn every day, everywhere, but this class, this building that we have, we're going to have to get out of it. And there's nothing wrong with a kid looking at the clock, because that could give them more motivation. For example, they're like, oh, I'm about to leave. Yay, now I'm happy. Whereas the other time, if they don't know what time it ends, they could think we have 3 hours, and then they're going to be very not motivated. Anyway, that can happen. And I think it's important for students to know the learning goals. However, I will say students don't even know why they're in school. Their parent just throws them on a bus and they're just like, the government told me to take you to this school. I don't care. Just make sure your teachers don't call me. And a lot of parents have that attitude where they don't want to be involved in their child's education or even in their child's life.